to the second series of the Marathon Medic podcast. My name's Amy and I'm a junior doctor and running coach based in London. This series is all about strong females, so I'll be chatting to women that I look up to with interesting stories and advice to share. On this episode, I'm talking to Sarah Place. Sarah is a long-distance runner with a 3:19 marathon time, and she's completed over 20 ultramarathons. Sarah is also a running coach, and she shares loads of great tips and advice on her YouTube channel. Today, we're sitting down to chat about everything ultra running, including how best to train for ultramarathons and all the preparation that's involved. So could you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about yourself and also how you got into running?
Yes, so I got into running maybe like 6 years ago now, but I was working at Pandora, the jewellery company, and there was two girls there, two of my friends who were training for the London Marathon, and they had no running experience at all, and I thought it was amazing that they were just training for it and doing all the stuff, and I did nothing at the time, like no exercise whatsoever. So I started training with them, or like going on a few runs with them, and then I entered a half marathon just to kind of force me to train, because unless I have something in the pipeline, I just won't do it. So I entered the Ealing half of September 2014, I think it was. And yeah, got around that, and it was the best feeling. Like, it was so amazing. Like, yeah, I can't even explain it, but it was just the best. And then after that, I kind of just thought, like, why stop there? Just like carry on and see what happens. And then I entered a marathon for the following spring, and yeah, just really like enjoyed the whole process of it. Like, actually for once enjoyed, like, I had a hobby. Like, I'd never really had hobbies before, but this was like the first thing that I'd actually stuck to for a long period of time.
Did your friends that were doing the London Marathon keep going as well, or was their experience a bit different to yours?
So they run the marathon and then they kind of had a break, like a lot of other people do, and then I left Pandora, so I lost touch with one of them. But yeah, no, my other friend still runs, but I think my enthusiasm overtook her enthusiasm for the sport, at least. But yeah, no, they're still going.
Good. What was it about Ealing, do you think, that made you love running? Because I actually ran that race as well, and I just thought the support was so good, because it's quite hilly, isn't it? Like up and down. And everyone kind of came out their houses, from my memory.
Yeah, it's so
cheering.
nice. Yeah. Like, I ran it with my sister because she kind of got into running at the same time. I think we ran most of it together, except she really struggled towards the end, and then I just left. I actually feel that's actually so bad thinking back. But yeah, Ealing is such a nice course because, yeah, you're right, like, people come out and support. There's like people making bacon sandwiches on the side, and like people at the church handing out orange segments. And yeah, I had no idea what to expect. Like, I had no idea that it was going to be hilly. That was obviously horrible, but yeah, it was just great. Just like crossing the. Well, what was your first race?
I can't even remember, actually. That's really bad, isn't it? I think the first thing I signed up to was Richmond Marathon.
That was your first race?
Yeah, and I ran a race with my mum a few months before just to practice what a race was like. But I think Richmond Marathon was my first one, and I don't think I was prepared enough, so I found it quite horrible, to be honest. Like, I really struggled in some points. But I can remember I did Ealing about a year later, and just loved the atmosphere. And I think halves are a bit more enjoyable. You don't get to that point where you feel like your body's about to
It's kind of like a mini London Marathon, I think, Ealing. Yeah. Because it's in London, and yeah, loads of great support and loads of runners. But yeah, good race.
What made you go from running marathons and half marathons to you now do kind of big ultras and have done quite a few of them?
I think it's just, as I said, just like getting to the end of the half and thinking, oh, I'll do a marathon next. Well, not straight away, obviously, a little while after that. And then after, it was the same thing with the marathon. Like, I finished Edinburgh Marathon, and then a few weeks later I was like, oh, what now? Like, I can either try and run this faster or just go further. And it wasn't until maybe the following year that I did a long, like a proper ultra. Me and my sister did Race to the Stones together, but it was over 2 days, so it was 50k Saturday, 50k Sunday, and it was horrible. Like, it was so hard, but it was so much fun. It was really good to do it together. And then I didn't do anything until maybe a year later after that. So I liked it, but I didn't really consider that as an ultra, really. Like, I kind of think when you get to like 50 miles, because 50k isn't really that much more than a marathon. So yes, I thought it was like a good achievement. But I'd always kind of wanted to do something longer just to see what that was like being out for kind of 8, 9, 10 hours. It's just that challenge thing, I suppose, like just the sense of achievement that you get afterwards.
And testing your limit.
Yeah.
I always wonder how far
exactly.
you go.
And with ultras, generally, they just tend to be in a lot nicer environments, don't they? Like, the scenery is a lot nicer. You can kind of just enjoy it a lot more, even though you are challenging yourself. You can kind of take a step back and just enjoy it and appreciate everything around you at the same time. So yeah,
that's where the love came from.
Yeah.
What's the longest distance you've ever done?
100 miles, but it was actually 105 miles, the North Downs Way, in 2018. So yeah, I've done 300-mile races now.
And how long roughly do they tend to take you?
So I did Thames Path 100, which is a Centurion race, and that was my first one. That took 26 hours.
God.
And then North Downs Way was a bit hillier and took a bit longer, so that was like 27 hours. And that's the longest I've been out running. I mean, it wasn't all running. There was a lot of walking and eating. But yeah, that's the longest amount of time I've been on my feet.
How do you cope with the aspect of going overnight? Because I think that's what limits me to signing up to anything longer than 50 or 60 miles, because I know that then you're starting to go into that zone of not sleeping and all of that. How do you cope with that?
Yeah, like, I don't really mind running in the dark. Like, that's not an issue for me. Yes, it's like you do get a bit tired, but I think unless you're going beyond 30 hours, like, you can just not sleep. I mean, some people take a little trail nap on the side of the trail. Yeah, like for the UTMB, I haven't done the full UTMB race, but you get given a like little thing to put on your pack to say, I'm okay, I'm just having a nap. So that if if someone run past you, they know not to disturb you and that you're fine, you're just having a sleep.
I didn't realise that. I'd be really scared, I think.
Yeah.
Just feeling quite vulnerable outside in the dark. Okay. Have you ever done that?
No. But like, sometimes I have been really tired. And yeah, I can definitely appreciate why people just like have a little nap, even just like a few minutes. But no, it's just like loads of, like, I just drink coffee through the night and some Coke, just like get some caffeine down. And I just try and split it up into 3 parts. So like the daytime of the first day, then the nighttime, and then you can just look forward to the sun coming up, and that's always such a nice thing.
And for anyone that's thinking of doing an ultra, what would your advice be in terms of picking which one to start with? Because so I did one of the threshold events last year, which I think is really good for a new starter, because it's so well organised and there's tents with amazing amounts of food, so you don't really need to carry anything. So what are the things that you would advise people just to check before they sign up to one of these big races?
I think just researching what it is that you're getting yourself into, like the elevation profile and the conditions that it's going to be, because you can like pick a 50-mile race and another 50-mile race and they'll be totally different. Like, for example, I did the South Downs Way 50 last year, and that took me just under 9 hours. But me and my friend did another race, a 50-mile race again, called Lakes in a Day, which is in the Lake District, and that took 21 hours. So it was like, because of the conditions and like what it's like underfoot and all of that stuff, the elevation, it can have a big effect on how long you're going to be out there. So I just say, like, look at previous results and just kind of see roughly what times people are getting, and the amount of help that there is on the course. Like the threshold events, they are amazing. Like, they'll really look after you, and there's kind of aid stations every 10k
Yeah, I think it's about every 8 miles, and I think
Yeah.
that was a really useful way to break up the race. I never thought of it as 50 miles. I thought
Yeah,
of
it
it
was
as
just like get to the
8
next
miles. Yeah.
aid station.
And I knew my parents were going to be there, and I knew I could have some food, and then it
Yeah.
just broke it up and made it quite enjoyable.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely just say like just make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, and just pick a distance that is kind of achievable. Like I would definitely I know a lot of people just think, oh, can I do 100 miler without running 50 miles? But like I really just don't see the point. Chip away at the distance, like just gradually build yourself up, because it is so much like you need to build up like the mental stamina, I think, to like go up to the really, really long distances. But
yeah, and there's no point pushing and achieving something but having been miserable for the majority of it.
Yeah.
You mentioned running lakes in a day with a friend. How do you manage running such a long distance with somebody else? Because I feel like people dip and have their strong points at different times during the race.
Definitely. I mean, for a lot of like the first ultras that I did them with the same friend. It's Vicky.
Yeah.
And at that point, she was definitely a much stronger runner than I am. So I, looking back, feel quite sorry for her, because she's definitely dragged me around a lot of these courses. But then, yeah, like sometimes she'll have a bad spell and I'll be having a good spell, and you kind of like pull each other through it. I think now I just prefer to run by myself, just because like I just don't want to feel like I'm holding anyone back or anything like that. But yeah, I think a lot of people do benefit from having someone there just to pull
even if
each
it's
other
just at the
through it.
beginning as well, I think,
Yeah.
because I think it's dangerous to go off too fast, isn't it? So if you've got someone there and you say we're going to run this pace for the first 10 miles,
just
and
keep
then
you
we can,
accountable, doesn't it?
yeah. And also you meet a lot of people on these races. I
Oh
find.
yeah, definitely. Especially like with stuff like the race to the king, race to the stones. Like there's so many beginners. Like it's all like predominantly first timers that are there. So yeah, everyone's chatting, and it's such a nice atmosphere, isn't it?
And with ultras, obviously you have to carry a hydration pack or vest. What kind of things do you put in your vest, and what are the must-haves for these races?
Obviously, like all my food and stuff, that I just definitely always put it in the front, because whenever I've struggled in the past, it's because I've not eaten or drunk enough. So I just make sure that I put all my food in the front, so I've got easy access to it. And then just like, a lot of races have like mandatory gear that you have to carry. So obviously have all of that. One of the things that I think is really useful is to get like a dry bag to put all the emergency stuff that you think you're not going to need, and then put that in the back, so you know that if you do get your kit checked, everything's in that little bag and it's all dry.
Okay.
What would you
I always have, actually I think I have the same jacket as you, the really lightweight Salomon rain and windproof. I literally take that on all of my runs.
Do you?
For some reason. I don't know why. I'm always just thinking worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And I always take sunscreen.
Oh, well,
because
yeah,
I'm always worried about that.
You.
Food, obviously, and then water. Usually some electrolyte tablets. I just had a few like wrapped up,
Oh,
so that when I
yeah.
topped up with water, I could put in my own tablets.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I find the flavours so disgusing.
Yeah.
That I just wanted
or
my
really
own.
just really weak.
Yeah. What kind of food do you take on ultras?
Kind of a mix of everything, really. Like, if I'm struggling to eat, I normally just go for gels, because they just go down quite easily. Like towards the latter stages, when I really just can't even think about putting anything else in. But in terms of like real food, nuts, crisps, like Oreos, like literally anything. Just have stuff in little Ziploc bags that I put in the front of my pack.
Is it baby food that you have as well?
Oh yeah, baby food's a really good one, just because it's like easy pouches and you can just digest them quite easily, and they taste quite nice. It's kind of like a healthy gel.
Yeah, it's not just full of sugar.
Yeah.
Do you train with the same food that you then take on the ultras, or do you adapt what you're taking?
Yeah, I try to. Obviously, like if you're taking stuff from the aid stations and you don't really know what they're going to have in advance, like some of them will list it on the website, but some of them don't, so it's always a bit of a surprise. But generally I will just try and practice as much as possible with the food that I'm planning on taking, just because I don't really like to rely too much on the aid stations, just because I don't really know what's going to be there, and the last thing I want is to have some stomach issues from something that I've not really practiced with. But like my stomach tends to be quite hardy, I think. Like I've never really had any bad stomach issues.
I think there must be a mental aspect to that, because on my casual runs I can have more stomach issues than if I were to run a race. Or I can remember on my ultra I had a bowl of pasta halfway round and I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to run on this, and I still managed to run straight away after with no problems, whereas if I did that on a Saturday at home I'd have been wrecked. Is there anything that you've learned from doing these events, or any mistakes that you look back on and think, wow, I can't believe I did that, I definitely wouldn't do that now?
I think it's more like my mentality has changed. Like when I first started doing them, I was so negative throughout the whole thing. I was like, I can't do this is horrible. And I think that's what made it really difficult for, like, if I was with someone, I'd just be like mentally dragging them down, and it's like, it's really hard to push past that. But now I think my mindset has just changed to be so much more positive, and like, I just try not to let any negativity come in, because once you think that you can't do it, like, you just look for any excuse to stop. And I think it's definitely like a mind over matter thing.
Is there anything that you did to change that mentality, or do you just think from getting more experience?
Yeah, I think it's just an experience thing. Like, the more of them you do, and like the more success, like the more times that you kind of cross the finish line and you think, oh, actually, maybe I can do this. Or even if it's like the first time I'm doing something, like I've got a big race coming up early next year called the Arc of Attrition, which is 100 miles, but it's on the Southwest Coast Path, and it's like in the winter. Like, it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done, but I know that if I have any chance of finishing that, I just need to be positive from the beginning, otherwise I'll just have no chance. So I think it just makes the whole experience just a lot nicer, like if you're just like smiling and have a positive mindset.
And you mentioned the race you're doing next year. You do quite a lot of interesting races in the UK and abroad. How do you pick these races and find out about them? Because obviously some of them we all know about, but some of them are a little bit more, not secret, but less well known. How do you pick what you're going to do?
Quite a lot of the time I just go on the UTMB qualifiers list, because a lot of these ultras have points that you can then use to qualify for the UTMB. And it's just like a massive directory of races. Okay. So it's just a good way to find stuff, really. I think I prefer the smaller races, like with a couple of hundred people, rather than the big, like, I know I keep talking about it, but with UTMB, I did the CCC, and that, it was amazing, but there was like over 1,000, like 1,200 people, all on like a single track trail, and it's just like so crowded and so stressful. Whereas like on a little race in the UK, you get like 200 people and you can just completely run your own race, and it's so much more enjoyable, I think.
Yeah, you must. Do people get literally almost trapped on a trail where they can overtake people?
Yeah. Like, I tried to overtake somebody because it was just like getting ridiculous, and then I just fell flat on my face, like literally just tripped over while I was overtaking them, and I was like, oh, that will teach me. But yeah, it's just like one long line of people, and you just have to like wait it out.
Which is almost the opposite of what you think when you're thinking about running in the Alps.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
think of like nobody around.
And unless you're like at the front of the field or at the very, very back, it can be like pretty busy and quite hectic.
And now you basically run and coach full time.
Yeah.
How did you go from a kind of a working office job to that, and what motivated you to make that change?
I think, as I said, when I was at Pandora, that was when I was starting to get into my running. I just got like more and more into it, and it just made me so happy. And I just thought, how can I make this into my job? I thought the only way I could really do it was to become a personal trainer. Like I didn't really even consider becoming a running coach. So I got my personal training qualification and just went down that route to start with. And then that then kind of evolved into like doing more of the running side of stuff, which I obviously enjoy way more.
Have you found that you've learned things about yourself or like your own training from training other people?
Yes, definitely. Like it's more like the positive mindset again. Like people are just so negative about their own running, and they're always so disappointed if they don't hit certain paces or don't do exactly what's on the plan. But like you just have to kind of fit it around your life and just adapt.
Do you make your own training plans, or do you have someone else make your training plans?
So I kind of essentially coach myself, which is actually quite hard because it's just so difficult trying to fit stuff around everything and like trying to think of, like it's fine doing it for other people, but I just think when it's yourself it's a lot harder. And it's been fine so far, but I think when I do arc of attrition I'll probably try and get some help, just because it just takes that
pressure off.
Yeah, and you don't have to think about it like someone. I'll just have my plan there and I'll just go out and do it, whereas like having to plan it out every week, I don't know, I think with anything, with coaching, like it's just such a good way to keep you accountable, whereas when it's yourself you've always find excuses not to do it. I think it will make me a better coach as well, like different ways of looking at stuff and different sessions and different approach to things. So I think it's always good to like seek help. You kind of think if you're a coach you should be able to like, why would a coach need a coach? But yeah, just to take that pressure off and like I think
sometimes it's good to have a external perspective, and
definitely
I think it can be easy to not do your session, but also it can be easy to push yourself and think, I don't need a rest day, I feel fine. Whereas sometimes I think you need someone to tell you like no, everyone needs a rest day.
Exactly.
If someone is new to ultra running or hoping to improve their ultra running, what would your top bits of advice be in terms of training for an ultra?
Just getting out in the same environment as much as possible. Like obviously it's so hard living in London and trying to like train for hilly races, but if you can get out on the course ideally, but just similar terrain, similar environment, and just get used to being in that situation. Like if there's a lot of running in the night, then practice running in the night. If you know that you're bad with your food, then practice with loads of different food. Just like try and mimic the conditions as much as possible. And then like don't neglect speed work. Like a lot of people just think training for an ultra you just have to do loads of long runs and it takes up loads of time, but actually it's still a good thing to be practicing like some fast running as well, and just so your body doesn't forget how to run fast. Back-to-back long runs are always quite a good thing to put in there.
By that do you mean kind of a long run on a Saturday and then an equally long run on the Sunday?
Something like if you're training for like a 50-mile race or 100k, for example, like 20 miles on Saturday and then maybe like 16 to 20 again on the Sunday. But it's just getting out on tired legs, because that's how you're going to be feeling at the end of one of these things, and just like knowing that you then have to go out again the next day. Like that is quite hard, like mentally as well as physically. So if you can practice being in that level of discomfort as much as possible, then you kind of set yourself up quite well, I think.
And for people that are training for long races, they're obviously on their feet for quite a long time and many miles each week, do you have any advice in terms of preventing injury or trying to minimise the risk?
I mean, touch wood, I have actually never had an injury, like a serious injury that's put me out for like more than a couple of days. Like obviously we all get niggles and stuff, but I truly believe that it's just because I do a lot of my runs really easy. And I see so many people just run way too fast for what they would consider like their easy runs. And they're always the people that get injured. And I don't know if that's because people are embarrassed about what their pace is on Strava or something. But yeah, I think as long as you're running easy, then, and you know, you don't have any like really bad things in your running form, then I think you'll like generally be okay. Because if you're running all of your miles really hard, then you just don't have time to recover, and then you're out running when you're tired, and then that's when you start to pick things up. So I think running easy, and by easy I mean like conversational, like you should be able to have a conversation with someone. That's kind of been the key for me.
Yeah, I think that's really important, and also it's enjoyable to run.
Well, yeah, it's so much nicer than just tearing around all the time.
Yeah, so a mix of easier chatty runs and then a few speed sessions.
Yeah, like maybe, I don't know, I think there's loads of books on it, but like 80% of it should just be like low intensity, and then 20% like tempo and some interval stuff.
Mm-hmm. And shoes are obviously another really important aspect of running, especially when you're doing long runs, and you don't change your shoes as often as maybe some people do. I think I'm quite guilty of changing my shoes really often. Yeah. So how do you know when you need to change your shoes?
Oh, that's a really good question. I'm actually wearing them now. I have 4 pairs of these road shoes. They're the Nike Turbo ones, and one pair of them I've gone through 1,000 miles in them, another pair I've done like 850, and they just feel the same as like the new ones. I don't know, like unless they're really falling apart, I just would keep running in them. But in terms of looking after them, like if they get wet, I'll try and dry them, or if they get muddy, because I think it's like the mud that can kind of break down and like make holes in the upper and stuff, and just trying to rotate between different pairs of shoes. That's why I've got this like the same pair, because it takes like 24 hours for the foam to bounce back. I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of makes sense, I suppose. So if you're running in the same pair every day, then they will not last as long.
So do you rotate, but you're actually rotating the same shoe but just different pairs that you've got?
Same shoe?
Okay.
But that's only because I found something that really works for me. Why do you change yours so much? And what's so much?
I don't actually record how many miles. I know you're supposed to run about 500, that's what they say, so then you change them. I'm not as strict as that. I just feel, as soon as I start to feel my knees when I'm running,
oh really?
I change my shoe, and I'm not sure if that's a psychological thing. Yeah. Where I think, if I've changed my shoe, then I've got more support all of a sudden. Yeah. But I actually rotate my shoes during the week, but I rotate different shoes because I think then there's like different pressure points and different
that's
shoes. So I've got kind of a couple different road running shoes, and then a couple of different trail shoes that I rotate. Yeah.
I think I'm quite lucky as well, because I tend to run with like quite a flat foot. Like I don't land on the outside, so like there's no particular part that gets worn down, and that kind of helps a bit, I think.
Yeah, I've got terrible feet, so I've got to be really careful. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I was just hoping we can maybe end on some advice for anyone that's completely new to running, and some tips for staying motivated and getting started.
If you're completely new, I would just say to just not compare yourself to anyone else. Like everyone is on their own running journey. So don't compare what your pace is compared to anyone else. Just do your own thing and just make sure that you're enjoying it. Run lots of easy miles and make sure that they're easy, and I think that will stand you in good stead for the rest of your running career.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I think I'll see you in a few weeks at, you doing Centurion 50?
Children Wonderland?
Yeah.
Are you doing it?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not prepared, but I'll see you then.
That'll be good.
Yeah. Thanks so much to Sarah for sharing her story and all the things that she's learned along the way. If you want to hear more from Sarah, then you can follow her on Instagram using the handle @SarahPlace1, or you can search for her name on YouTube. That's the final episode in this series of Strong Females, but I'll be back in a few weeks with some more podcast episodes. You can follow me using the handle @marathonmedic, or you can visit marathonmedic.com. Thanks so much for listening.